Thank you for coming today. I'm attorney Gloria Allred. I'll be making a statement. After I make the statement, my client, Ms. Charlotte Lewis, will be making a statement. And you will all receive copies in a few moments. We are here today because another alleged victim of Roman Polanski's sexually predatory conduct has come forward. Charlotte Lewis of London, England, who appeared in Roman Polanski's film Pirates, alleges that she was victimized by Mr. Polanski when she was 16 years old. Mr. Polanski had previously been charged with rape by use of drugs, perversion, sodomy, lewd and lascivious act upon a child under 14, and furnishing a controlled substance to a minor. These charges have not yet been dismissed, but Mr. Polanski entered a plea of engaging in unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor, a sexual crime against a child, and was scheduled to be sentenced on February 1st, 1978. However, rather than appearing for sentencing, Mr. Polanski fled on that date. If Charlotte's allegations are accepted as true, then Mr. Polanski was able to victimize another child while he was a fugitive from justice. This means that Charlotte's allegations are relevant on the issue of sentencing. The defense, for example, may wish to portray their client as a loving father and a law-abiding citizen after he fled and failed to appear for sentencing. The judge, however, can also consider credible claims of predatory conduct after Mr. Polanski fled when determining the appropriate sentence for Mr. Polanski. If the judge believes these claims, it could certainly have an impact on the court's decision, especially if the judge believes that Mr. Polanski engaged in a similar modus operandi, MO, with Ms. Lewis. Yesterday, Ms. Lewis and I met with a detective from the Los Angeles Police Department and a high-level deputy district attorney from the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office to provide details of what Ms. Lewis suffered as a result of Mr. Polanski's conduct toward her. Even though Charlotte was afraid to report her allegations to law enforcement at the time the incident allegedly occurred, for reasons common to many victims, she did present fresh complaint evidence to law enforcement, and it is in their possession. Charlotte is also ready to testify under oath, if, as, and when that would ever be necessary in the legal process. If Mr. Polanski thought that the sentence he was about to receive for the crime that he committed against the child was unfair, he could have withdrawn his plea. Instead of doing that, however, he chose to flee from the criminal justice system. To make matters worse, if he took advantage of another very vulnerable young victim after making his escape and avoiding the imposition of legal consequences, then he needs to face justice now for what he has done in the past. If the court believes and gives weight to Charlotte's allegations, then Mr. Polanski deserves no compassion for the commission of his original crime to which he entered a plea, and no compassion for his age or the number of years that have passed since the crime was committed. I hope that Charlotte's example of courage in coming forward will empower and encourage others who may have been victimized by Mr. Polanski to also come forward and report their experiences to law enforcement or to me. I commend, and Charlotte commends, L.A. County District Attorney Steve Cooley for pursuing justice in the case of Roman Polanski. Accountability for a crime against a child has no time limit, and the pursuit of Mr. Polanski sends an important message to others. That message appears to be, don't flee, or law enforcement will come after you. Even if you are rich, or famous and powerful, if you become a fugitive from justice, you will not get a pass, because no one is above the law. I am honored to represent Charlotte, who is very brave, and who contacted me for assistance to make sure that what she suffered at the hands of Mr. Polanski would be taken into account in the criminal justice system. I believe that the sentencing judge needs this information to make an informed decision, and we look forward to continuing to cooperate with law enforcement in the pursuit of Mr. Polanski. a man who is both a sexual predator and a fugitive from justice. And now I'd like to present Charlotte Lewis.
Hello. I came forward because I heard that Roman Polanski is fighting his return to the United States, facing sentencing for his previous crime against a 13-year-old victim, and that his legal team is portraying his previous offense against a minor as an isolated incident. I am also a victim of Roman Polanski. He sexually abused me in the worst possible way when I was just 16 years old. 4 years after he fled the United States to avoid sentencing for his crime. In addition to the fact that both myself and his previous victim were underage, I believe that there are other similarities in the crimes that he committed. It is very important that the district attorney and the Swiss authorities be armed with this information as they decide Mr. Polanski's fate. I have traveled to the United States at my expense to make sure that justice is finally done and that Mr. Polanski gets what he deserves. Mr. Polanski knew that I was only just 16 years old when he met me and forced himself upon me in his apartment in Paris. He took advantage of me, and I have lived with the effects of his behavior ever since it occurred. All I want is justice.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Charlotte's not going to be answering any questions, but I'll be happy to answer a few.
Gloria, what do you believe could happen legally as a result of this?
Charlotte's allegations are relevant to the sentencing decision of the judge. And depending on the weight that the judge gives to these allegations, the sentence can reflect what Mr. Polanski has done or failed to do, conduct and or misconduct, since he became a fugitive from justice. It is relevant on the sentencing decision.
Can you talk about the fresh complaint evidence that you mentioned? I know you probably can't tell specifically what it is, but can you elaborate?
I am not going to say the exact evidence that we did provide, but we did provide fresh complaint evidence. In general, what fresh complaint evidence is that contemporaneously with an alleged crime, a victim reports to someone what has occurred in the incident.
Gloria, why didn't your client go to the DA with this information before?
I think what's important is she's gone now.
But why exactly today? Because the controversy has been going on for many months by now.
I think she has explained in her statement why she has come forward at this time. It's never easy to come forward, especially in a high-profile case. So I always admire the courage of those who do so. Not only is it not too late, but there's still time, if there are other victims, for them to also come forward, even if what they allege occurred many, many years ago.
Ms. Allred, was the crime similar? Were drugs involved? Was it a rape?
The words that we have used are the words that we are using to characterize what occurred.
Was that the only film that she was in with him?
Pardon me?
Was that the only film that she was in with him?
Is that the only film? Yes. Okay.